Hello all. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon. And I'm back again with another data upgrade video. This is based on the request, and it would have been there already because the new version is announced. So we should have an upgrade video. So somebody requested me to do an upgrade video from Business Central 2022 or BC22 to BC24. So what we'll be doing today is we'll be trying those steps and see how it works. For the demo, what I've done is, let me just walk you through around the prerequisites that are there. I built an extension, the two versions of the extension, the one version which is installed on the Business Central 22 and the version 2 of extension which will be installing during upgrade to Business Central 24. And because in Business Central 24, Microsoft introduced the new Foundation app, which had some tables which are part of the Foundation app, like number series lines, and others. I also wanted to verify, is there an upgrade hack that you have to do to move the data? So in this extension, there is surely a customer table extension where there are some fields, a code and a decimal, same for the vendor. And to kind of test out the foundation existence, I added a custom field into the number series and 1 or 2 field into the number series line field. While I deployed it on BC22, I also populated some data into it. And then those have the respective page extensions so that we can see it on the client. And then for the demo, that is a 50,000 table also, which is a copy of the payment term code, which will hold some data. So we'll verify the base fields are customs on the base tables are moving. We'll also verify the new table data is moving, and we'll also verify the Foundation app impact in the upgrade if there is any. So if you are interested, stay here and we'll go through the whole process again. One more thing that I'll do this time, which I was not doing earlier, and somebody pointed out yesterday, and I was pretty surprised that I was not doing it. I'm doing a little bit refactoring in my GitHub. So you'll notice some items will move here and there. All the videos that we do around upgrades, if those scripts are still available with me, I'll place them into this data upgrade repo. And then there is some other refactoring that will be going on as we go forward. So just sorry for that if it causes problem. Let me know into the comments and I'll point you to the right Git repo. Okay. So let's log into our environment. So as I said, I already have a Business Central, let's see, help and support. I have a Business Central 22.5 US version. And then in this, I have also created a separate company other than the Cronus USA. So there is another company called Demo Company, which is typically a copy of the Cronus company. Let's first review the data that we have created. So on the customer list, you see these two fields. Same on the vendors list, you will see the two fields at the end. And then on the number series, you will notice that there is one field at the end, which is equivalent to the value on the code. And then if I navigate from here to my lines, which is number series line, and I remove the filter that is applied, I'll be able to see that there are two fields, which is demo code and demo date, which have the value corresponding to the code and the last date used, if there is any. So we have all the data that we need. Just quickly check the new table so that we don't get confused about it. That is called SDH payment terms, and this have the payment term data. So we are good with the data. Everything looks good. We have two companies in it. We have some custom data. We have a PTE into it, which is bringing all that, kind of storing that data. So let's quickly review that on extension management. So I have all Microsoft extension and then one PTE. If you have ISVs in place, that more or less goes to the same direction that we are going. So what we do first while doing upgrades, we first go and check Microsoft article, which is data upgrade to Business Central. Okay, now here upgrading the data to Business Central. Now we are doing an upgrade to Business Central 2024 release wave 1, which is BC24. which is this. So we'll go in there. That is the whole detail article, and we'll kind of follow all this. But you can read about it if you're interested. I have read it for so many years, so I kind of know it. What's changed? There's a new Business Foundation extension, as we know. Okay, and then you can keep reading about it if needed. What you need to do before upgrade, you can read about it here. There's nothing major that I think. And the important thing that you should be reading is compatibility matrix. So now, whenever you are upgrading, you need to see that your prior version is compatible to which higher version. So like we are upgrading from version 22. So here is version 22 compatibility. Now, if you or your customer is on 22.0 to 22.5, then you can upgrade to either 23.0 or 24.0, which we are because mine is 22.5. If you come down here till cumulative update 11 of version 2022, you can upgrade to 24.0. If you are on 22.12, then you'll need to use the cumulative update 1, which should be available in few days. So this is how you read it. If we need to do a separate video about it, let me know, but that's okay. Okay, so now we are in upgrading application and data, and we are not upgrading from version 14, not from version 14, we're upgrading from version 15 and later. I can actually click on this, and if you read it here, it says use this scenario if you are utilizing or currently using these versions, version 15 to version 23. So this video, you can use it from any of these versions. So if you're watching this still and you are not on version 22, don't worry. If you're on a prior version or even on 23, you can use the same video. I'll not be recording separate videos, just FYI. Okay, so here, what's gonna happen? The current structure, whatever version you have a base app and you have a system app, and then on top of it, there's an application layer. There are symbols for version, specific symbol, and then there are system objects and platform. On top of it, there are Microsoft extensions, and then there are third-party extensions and third-party extension. Everything remains same, only this piece breaks into a separate layer now, which is the base app remains as it is, system app remains as it is, but in the middle of it, there is a Business Foundation app in version 24. So that's the change. Okay, so let's quickly run through it. Okay, you need to install version 24. I have already done it. You guys have seen the video. If you haven't, go back and watch it into the installation playlist. I'm coming from version 23, so I technically have not to do any permission set. If you're using the prior permission set, then you have to do this. Existing database, you surely need to take a backup. You need to disable the data encryption. And I got a question of how you do the disable data encryption. You always say it. So go to your client and search for data encryption page. In the data encryption management, if you see this is enabled, then you can export the encryption key. Once you have exported the encryption key, you can disable the encryption. And then after the upgrade, you can import the key back in and enable the encryption. Okay. Then you need to run your Business Central administration cell, which I prefer to use PowerShell ISE. So I'll run this. If you want to use the the administration cell, be my guest, that's okay. Then first you need to uninstall all extension, and this is a very common script, so I have always scripted it out. So I'll just open that for you, and then we'll see what others are in a while. Okay, so what we are doing here, let's understand. This is preparing the existing database. That means this step you run in your older version, which is BC22 in this case, in my case. So you need to get a list of extension, which you can do with this, and then you need to uninstall the extension using this. But if you come a little bit down, Microsoft clubs these two together and gives you one single line to do that. And I'll explain you what that line is. Then you need to unpublish all system symbols, which is this line. And then if you are multi-tenant, which I'm not, then you also need to run this. And then you stop the service. So all that we'll be doing here. The first one will be importing the module that is required for version 22. Then this part before the pipe gets the information of all the apps or extension that you have installed. And then whatever the output comes out of it get piped in into this command, which is uninstall nav app. And then it takes the name and the version from this output and then uninstalls it. The same goes for unpublishing the extension, which is the same way it kind of gets it here. And then the same for removing symbols, which is this. And then you stop the service. Now what you'll notice that because extensions have dependencies, your one time may get some error message. So what I try to do is I'll only select this piece, which will try to uninstall and unpublish some extensions which are no longer needed. So let's do that and let's see what happens. If you're worried about your data, don't worry. Uninstall does not remove your data, or neither unpublish. There are different commands to remove data from your extensions. So either of these will not remove it. Now what it is going to do, it's going to just remove that extension or disable more or less that extension from your environment so that it can proceed with the upgrade steps. So as you can see, there are some which got removed where we see this warning. And then at the end, there is this error message because there was a cross dependency. So if you read this here, I'll tell you somewhere that there's a dependency, which is here, I guess. Cannot be unpublished because it is required by X app and Y app. So what I'll do again is I'll run the same piece again until I stop getting error. So now the number of error have reduced to 4. I'll run it again. And voila, no errors. That means every extension is unpublished and uninstalled. Now let's stop the service. Now this is the only set of steps that I needed to do in my prior version during my upgrade. Any steps after this will be run into the newer version. Now if you are from a previous version of Business Central, previously Microsoft used to provide a FLF file for the license. A BC license was introduced in 17.12 or this. So if you are coming from a prior version, which I'm not, then you need to remove the references of the old FLF file from your database. And for that, you need to run this. And I'm not coming from a prior version, but just for people who will be coming from a prior version, I'll just run it. It doesn't harm. It just removes the references of my license. Okay, so there are 3 commands. The first one points to the master database, so nothing need to be changed. On the second and on the third one, if you are single tenant, which majority of us are, just copy the database name and replace it at the first parameter, which is this, and same here. Now what this will do, it will remove all the references of the FLF license or the license that you had in your environment or database. So let's execute this. There are 3 records which has been modified. That's okay, not a problem. Let's close this, come back to our article. Now here comes the interesting part, where it starts the journey toward future of the next version. So before we get into it, let's take a break and understand it. So what I normally do, and if you have seen my upgrade videos in the past, let me open the DVD on a new window so that I can explain you this. 24, okay. And then inside 24 or any version for that matter, you see this application folder which have all the apps that you need and which are coming from Microsoft. What I do, and I've done it in past, I break these extensions into multiple pieces or multiple sets, not pieces. The first one that I keep is called core app. Now the idea of the core app is this is the minimum set of extensions that are needed to upgrade. What is that combination? Now Earlier, it used to be the system application, the base application, and the application extension or app. With version 24, there's a new app in the core, which is the business foundation. So if I take you back to this article or this screenshot, what I'm trying to focus at is this section. The plan is to first upgrade this section, and then all these bells and whistles can be upgraded separately. Yes, there is a part of platform update which we'll be doing first because that's how it starts. So first you upgrade the platform, then you upgrade the core, and then once the core is upgraded, which is still here, then you add your bells and whistles, and those bells and whistles can be ISVs, your multiple pertinent extensions, and so on and so forth. So to kind of keep it simple, what I do, and I'll come back to the same point, which is task 4, I'll first split up all these extensions into some parts. The first part is the core apps, which makes the minimum set of apps that are needed. Then I'll take the another set, which is all other apps that come from Microsoft, but not part of the core. Now, what you'll notice that there are two folders, dependency 1 and dependency 2. The idea here is that the dependency 1 folder contains all the apps which have one dependency, let's say. The dependency 2 apps are again the apps from Microsoft or my partner, like my PTE also, which have dependencies on the dependency 1 apps. So like if you look at it, the Contoso Coffee Demo data set has a dependency on the Contoso Coffee Demo app. So I can't just install or upgrade all these apps together. I split them into two parts, or if there are more needed, I guess I'll split it that way. But the dependency 1, which have no other dependency other than the core, and dependency 2 have apps which have dependencies other than core also on dependency 1. So that's why they are split into two parts. And then in versions where new apps are added, I also create a new folder called new apps. These might be new extensions or ISV extension that you want to go forward with, which were not part of your solution. They get placed into this folder. As we know, in Business Central 24, there was a lot of AI stuff that came in. So all those extensions, the Excel report, the sustainability app, all these are kind of placed into a separate folder called new apps. And guess why? Because these apps are not supposed to be upgraded, because these are new apps. So you just have to install these apps. So that's why they are a little bit different than other apps that we saw in other folders. So what I'll be doing, as I said, in the GitHub, you will find all these files. And the reason why I have split it into all these different files is, let me explain you here in the list view. Okay. All right, that was good. What is that? Okay. The first one we ran, which is the step 1 that you run on the prior version. The step 2 is what we'll be building right now. And then these 3 are to install or upgrade dependency 1, upgrade dependency 2, and this one is the new apps. But these are for the US localization. So the step 1 and 2 work for every localization that you might be using, but these will vary based on the localization that you're using. So you can pick and choose which file you need. Okay, let's get into it. Let's load our second PowerShell command, which is the step 2. And I've just done the basic copying of the commands. We'll see what else is here. So the first thing is to convert the application database to version 24. Now, if you remember here in the image, we are talking about the platform. So now we are kind of updating the database to a higher platform, and that is done with this PowerShell command to run the invoke nav database conversion, which takes 2 parameters, the database server and then the database name. So if you notice here, that is the command here to invoke the conversion, database server and database name. Now, if you have an instance, then you will do a slash and whatever the instance name is. I don't have it, so I'm not specifying it here. Once the conversion is done, the next step is to configure or update my service so that now my BC24 service points at this database, which was earlier on BC22, because the platform has been updated. So the service will be able to kind of understand the environment. How you do that? There's no administration panel like it used to be in the previous version. So what you need to do is you need to start configuring your service. That starts with some basics. You need to define the database name. If you have a database instance, then there's a separate property for it. Then Microsoft recommends you to disable the task scheduler so that no job queues or task gets executed while we are upgrading. And then to implement these changes, you need to restart the service. Then you need to import your version 24 license using this, and then you need to again restart the service so that the license is applied on that environment. So let's see what we are doing here. We are setting up the database server, the database name. If you have an instance, then enable this and specify your instance name here. You can't do / and this, okay? Then the database name, and then you disable the task scheduler. You restart the service so that these parameters are set. Then you import the license and you again restart the service. So let's check this batch and let's run this. So you'll notice as this is happening, you started getting warnings, which means that the changes are being done on the service, but they will only impact when the service is restarted. That's the rule, even from the NAB world, right? And as the service gets restarted, it'll start loading the new license and again we'll restart it. Okay, coming down. Next step that we have is synchronize the tenant. Now what synchronize tenant does? The synchronize tenant validates that there are no data loss that has been done till now. Is a platform application get ready to new extension version. Okay, so if you have multi-tenant, then you do need to do this. Otherwise, you just need to sync the nav tenant. So let's go back in here. Let's add the next command, which is synchronize the tenant. And then we'll just copy this. Okay, we'll change this, whatever is not to my style in a while. Once you run the sync, that's okay. Then you need to go ahead and publish extensions. Okay, so let's add a comment, publish extension. Now the publishing of extension need to happen in a certain order. So you can't just change it. So the first one is your system application that need to be published. The second one is business foundation application that need to be published. Okay. And the next one is then becomes your base app. And last but not least is your application app. So what you are doing here is you are going to replace this. Okay, you can read it through. It'll just providing you where this app is, what the path is, and all those things. But the first one is the system app. Now, where is my system apps or core apps? They all are placed in my core app folder. So the first one is system app path. So this is my system app. Let's copy the path and paste it here. My business foundation app is my second app that I need to publish. So let's do that. My third app is base. So let's do this. And my application app is this. So let's do this. Okay. Now, if you don't have multi-tenant, your tenant becomes by default as default. And then every server instance property that I have here, I'll change it with BC to 40. Let's do that. Okay. Now let's quickly review what we have done is correct. The first one is saying that it should be inside the system application folder. So we have done the system application. The second one is business foundation folder, which we have done. Third one is the base app, which we have done. And fourth and last is my application, which is the Microsoft application extension, which is here. So we are good with the publish command. Let's run the sync first. So what it is doing right now, it's preparing the environment to be upgraded. It is making sure that any changes that we have made will not cause any problems going forward, and it did that. Now let's publish the set together. Now remember that uh, the publish may take time based on the size of your app. And because we are only dealing with the core apps, the biggest core app is still our base application. So you'll notice that my publishing of the base app may take some time, but let's move ahead. Let's keep reading this. Now, when you read this, and this is my way, so if you want to follow what is written here, go ahead, be my guest, not a problem. Here it says to publish the new version of other Microsoft extension. As we saw, there are a lot of them. So I would like to keep that separate. So I'm not doing it. But if you are interested, you can just add those commands here. After that, if you have PTEs, you also need to publish them here. And I'm not doing that here at this moment. Now, if you want to recompile some extension for version 24, you can do that using the repair command, which I am not going to do because I'll deal with all of this separately. But now the next step is important, is to synchronize tenant with extension. Now what I'm going to do in this step is we publish the 4 core apps, and if you're publishing 20 more apps, then you also have to do it for 20 more apps. Now we'll be synchronizing the tenant with these extensions. Now the sync works in a little bit different way for apps. You run the SyncNav app, you provide the service name, you provide the tenant ID, you provide the name of the application that you would like to sync, and then mandatorily it's important to specify the version. Now you'll say, okay, Saurabh, typically we don't provide versions. Why you are saying it's mandatory? At this point in the time, your database have 2 versions of all these core apps. One which is coming from BC22, and one which we are publishing as we just publish these extensions. So the sync need to be very clear which application you would like to sync out of the 2 versions of the application that are available. And that's where you need to be very clear that you are utilizing or providing it the version to be very specific which app you would like to synchronize. Now, if you look at it, what it's doing is the first sync is running for the system application. The second is running for the business foundation. Third is for the base app. And fourth is for the application app. Now, it is following the same order of the publish. Now, that kind of tells you how you need to, if you miss out the sequence of these syncs or even publishes, you will end up with that message. So make sure the sequence of the steps is correct, as in the same way as needed. Now, as I said, I'm not doing any bells and whistles at this time. But if you are doing that, then for each app, you also have to run the sync as we did for the core apps. It seems it's still running, and I noticed that it came for the 3rd time. So maybe right now it's doing base app. I have no clue, but let's check on the SQL server. Do I see anything on the activity monitor? Nothing seems active at this moment as an active expensive. But the recent expensive, if I filter out on my demo upgrade database, it seems to be doing something on the application metadata, publish application, and the job queues and others. And there are some batch requests which seems to be pending. So let's see. Let's wait it for a while, and as it gets over, we'll build our sync command, which will be following the same app. Now the question is how I knew the version that I need to specify, and we'll see it once this is over. So let's give it a time. Sometime I'll pause the video. Okay, so the publishing of extension is over. Let's build the next set, which is our synchronized tenants with extension. Now this one, as we discussed, will synchronize all the apps that we have installed. Let's just copy this, and then we'll talk about the version. As I said, make sure that the order is correct. If you miss out the order, that'll be problem. Okay, copy, and here. All right. First, let's do the basic thing that we know, which is replacing this with PC240. Replace all, and the tenant becomes default. Okay, Control H to default. Okay, the name of the application is here, which is matching to the order that we did publish them. Now let's come to the version. Now, at least till now, all the apps from Microsoft come up with the same version, and you can just copy any app path, and here you can write get nav app info, and it also supports the path parameter, so you don't need to attach a service. You can just give it a path to get the details of any app. Once you do that, you'll notice that there is a version property somewhere, which is here. So this becomes the version for all the apps till now from Microsoft. That's what the trend is, that all apps from Microsoft come with the same version, not just the core, but also the other apps that we talked about. So this becomes our synchronized set. We are done with it. We'll run it in a while, but let's build the next set of command, which is upgrading the data. So what do you do when you do want to upgrade an app? You publish the new version, you synchronize the new version, and then you upgrade the new version. Now you do that in the same way. System application, okay. Then the business foundation. And you'll notice a change here. We'll talk about it in a while. Then this is the base application. And last but not least is the application. Okay. So now let's pick this up. Let's just change this and change it to BC240. What will happen with this? This all get changed. And the version we know is this. Let me just replace all. Okay. So let's understand this while I'm running the sync. So I'll run the sync and we'll talk about the upgrade step. So I started running the sync and I'm keeping this side. Now let's understand what happens in the upgrade step. In the upgrade step, you also specify the version of the app that you would like to upgrade, and that is the newer version of the app. The reason that you do that is to make sure that you're trying to upgrade the newer version, which contains the upgrade logic of how to copy the data or upgrade the data from the older version of app to the newer version of app. And that logic will lie in the newer app. So that's why the version becomes important even in the upgrade step. But remember that the foundation app was a new app. So there is nothing need to be upgraded into it. And that's the reason your line number 42, as you're seeing on the screen, is install, is not the data upgrade. So don't get confused if you see this, because the business foundation did not existed in the prior version. That's why it is not getting upgraded. It is just getting installed. Okay. Having said that, let's run the upgrade set. While we are running this, let's see what Microsoft says about it. Run the data upgrade / installation of an extension in order of dependencies, which is system, foundation, base, and application. That's what we are doing right now, which is all these steps. Then, if you're following the Microsoft guide, which you can for sure, for all the apps that you published and synchronize other than the core app, you will have to run the upgrade step for each app which existed in the prior version and install for the apps which did not existed in the prior version. Once you are done with the upgrade, which it seems to be completed in my case, yes, we are not multi-tenant, so we don't need to do this. And then we need to install new Microsoft reinstall third-party extension, which I'm not doing right now. We'll do it in a while. Then the second last step, more or less, is to upgrade the control add-in. How you do that? Let's understand that. Okay, so let me type in here and see what it says. It says that with Business Central, Microsoft ships out some control add-ins, and you might have custom control add-in that you can just add it here. But what Microsoft is saying, because the control add-in that Microsoft ships, there is an upgrade script for it, which is here. Let's try to understand it. It says set the nav add-in on the service, whatever the service is, and because it is so many times, I'll just utilize this as a parameter here and make it as BC240. The add-in name is these. The first parameter is the add-in name, which is the Microsoft Dynamics Nav client with this chart, flow integration and all. And then there is a public token attached to it. And then the zip file of this particular control add-in is placed in a app name folder. What is your app name folder? We'll see in a while, but it also becomes my another parameter here. And we'll see what that is. In the app name folder, there is a path. Oh, sorry, not the app name folder. I should have done this add-in folder. The app name is a combination of add-in folder plus the actual path of the zip file for all these cases. But what is my add-in folder? The add-in folder is the folder where in the installation media, when you install Business Central, where these libraries are placed or zip files are placed. And you will notice that Microsoft locates it here. So this becomes till here, I guess, add-ins becomes my path. Because if you notice here, this is an example. After this, I should have included this. Okay. After the slash, the business chart, and then this is already appended here. So my add-in folder becomes this. What I'll do is I'll copy this, paste it here, and then change this to the right version, because Microsoft have kept it 190 from the time it has been launched. But that's okay. I don't think that's a big deal. So I'm changing it here, and then it is joining the path of this with the add-in folder, which will upgrade all my control add-ins. Nice. Okay. So let's set this up and let's run this patch, which will, okay, it was not able to set the server instance parameter because I should have put it into single quotes. Hopefully, see, mistakes are bound to happen. So let's run this set now, and now it's running that. So remember, learn from my mistakes. Whenever you define a parameter in PowerShell, bound them with single quotes. Okay. That way it becomes easier to kind of understand which comes where. So what's happening right now, all these add-ins are being set, and then we reach to our last step, more or less. I don't have permission set, so I don't have to do anything here. I surely have to change my application version. Your database is operational at this moment, FYI. And people tend to not even execute the step that we just executed and move further with it, that my upgrade is over. But I'll tell you why this step is important. There's a PowerShell command to get the nav application version. Something like that. Let's see. Yeah, application. Get nav application, which tells you the platform version and server instance BC240. Okay, it did not find that. Okay, get nav application. Okay, server instance, and it is case sensitive, so try that this way. When you do get nav application, this information is used to identify what is the application version of your tenant or environment. If you notice, it is still pointing to 22.5. Even if you try to browse your application right now, let's do that. It's getting loaded here. My database should be here with the core extension, and that's what I need to kind of see the data or access the environment. So because the core extensions are published, upgraded, I should be able to access my Business Central 24 environment at a bare minimum. What you'll notice once you load in here is everything looks good. It seems upgraded to Business Central 24. But when you go into help and support, where most of your users go, they will notice that it still says, oh, it's corrected here. But okay, normally it kind of points out to the wrong version, but seems to be pointing out to the right version, which is good. Maybe Microsoft is handling it now, which they didn't used to, but okay, we'll still run it. The setNav application helps you to set the application version of your tenant, and then you just copy this and let's paste it here. Anytime you change this, you have to specify the force as it is doing, and then you have to sync and run an upgrade step. Okay, upgrade step, and then that's it. Okay, there's one more thing, sorry for that. BC240, our application version is this. Okay, so let me just do that. I can even check on the website if needed, but this becomes without the last part. So your application version is, this is the platform part for this. And then you synchronize the tenant with the service name BC240 and your tenant ID as default. Same here, you run the upgrade and you need to do the default. Because I have a client session running on BC24, I'll have to add one more thing, which is skip user session checked. So now let's run these. Let's set the application, which should happen now. And to confirm this, let's synchronize the change. We'll just validate everything looks good. And then let's run the data upgrade step. Now data upgrade typically seems to be over, but it is not. So you should always, when you run the data upgrade, do a get nav data upgrade. So for instance, BC240, and then you can do detailed. And then there is one more thing I forgot, which is, until then it might be over. Okay, let's see just the detailed part. So when you run this, it'll tell you where the status of the upgrade is, which is very hard to read. So what I'll do is I'll just add a pipe and do a out to grid view. Now this will show me a tabular form of the same info that I'm trying to look at. And here it tells me that all of the upgrade status steps are completed. Now remember to do this whenever you run the upgrade, and this window on the grid view does not get updated. So you always have to come back and check if it is running. The status will be running here. State will be running. Okay. What else is left? Let's see. Now it says change the application version on help and support, which seems to be already updated, but I'll still run this. That's important. Because in prior versions, it never used to happen. So I will make this habit because it's already part of the Microsoft documentation. Now this GUID is pointing to the base app. So this will set the service. Anything else? I don't think so. Post upgrade task. If you have disabled the task schedule, which you should have, enable it. If you had data encryption in the beginning of the upgrade, then enable it, and then import the customer license, which is just these steps. Our upgrade is not yet over, because while we were upgrading, we only upgraded the core. So now if you go into extension management, and this is surprising that this is happening with Business Central, you will only notice that you have the core apps of version 24. See a little bit different? Because in the prior upgrade videos, you will see that there were other apps which were uninstalled, but now you only see this, which is a little bit surprising, but that's how it is now. Now we'll deal with with our apps, which are the bells and whistles of the upgrade. For that, we'll first open the upgrade dependency 1. Now, this is specific to North America or US databases if you have. If you're using any other countries, you will have to build this based on your dependency apps. Now, there are a lot of apps that my customer has, which is all Microsoft apps at this moment. So I'm trying to publish, sync, and start the nav data upgrade of all the apps that I had. So let's select all. Let's do a clear screen. If there is an error message, I can run that again. That's not a problem. And then let's run this. So now I'll start upgrading each and every app that is part of the dependency group 1. And then we'll execute the dependency group 2, which will run the dependency group 2 apps. And then finally, we will deal with the new apps that were part of Business Central 24, and we will just run those to kind of verify that the new apps are also part of the upgraded environment. Now there is quite a few apps, so I'll let it run. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, add them into the comments. If you are on version 15 to version 23 and you want to upgrade to BC 24, you will follow the same set of steps that we discussed in this video. I would not love to record another video for another version, but if needed, if you think that you had some problems, let me know into the comments. I hate to say this, but if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe it. It helps us to understand how we are doing. It also helps us to have a better reach of these videos so that more people who are struggling with these kind of processes that we discuss in this channel gets the right content so that they have access to it. To be very frank with you, my idea is to be a billion subscriber into this channel, which is a pretty long shot that I'm targeting, but I would love to do that someday. And I'm being fair. I'm not hiding anything from you, but that's the idea. Okay. So let's see where we are. There seems like quite a few apps, but we haven't seen any error messages. So everything is working fine till now. So let's give it a moment. I'll just pause the video for a while this kind of gets completed. Okay. So that's over. Let's start our dependency 2. Dependency 1 ran without any errors. Let's talk about dependency 2. Okay. This also includes our custom app. So I'll just select all this, and it has the same command, which is publish, sync, and upgrade, because it's again the same set of apps which existed in my prior version. So let's run this. Hopefully it'll not take much time because there are not that much of apps. And the new pop-up, because of the PowerShell, higher version of PowerShell, I don't like it because it used to happen silently. Now this kind of pop-up is being a problem, but I'll try to figure out how you can suppress this, because this doesn't make sense. Okay. And it should be over any moment. Yes. Okay, last but not least, let's deal with our new apps, which is this one. Now there's a slight change in the commands here. Instead of being upgrade, because these are new apps, there is install nav app. So these apps never existed in BC 2.0 or in your previous version, and these are just new apps in the new version. So I'm going to select them and run this set. Now, to my surprise, when I watched the launch videos, they said AI capability is only cloud. If I remember it correctly, guys, don't quote me on this. But then when I looked at the BC24 product DVD on-prem, all these extensions were part of the on-prem DVD. Does that mean I can still use the power of AI from on-prem? I haven't checked it, but that's something that I'm going to test now, because it seems it's available on-prem as an extension, And I understand that on-prem follows the SaaS rule, but if an app is not compatible with on-prem or a feature is not compatible, that should not exist on-prem, as per my theory. But let's test it out, maybe in a separate video, not on this one. So remember the key points while this is happening. I'll make sure that this gets up to date in the update in GitHub after this recording. You can run the same set of command from Business Central 15 to Business Central 23 if you are upgrading to Business Central 24. Make sure to remember the sequence of app as you are publishing them, synchronizing them, and upgrading them. If you mess up with the sequence, you will have error messages. Sorry for that. Okay. So this side is also completed. Let's look at our BC24 now. And let's refresh this. And let's verify the data that we had before the upgrade. First, let's look at the extension list. They're available now. Extension management. Yes, all the extensions are now available on the latest version, including mine on version 2.0. Okay, let's look at the data. Customer. Okay, it should load now. Okay, the data is here as it was. Same for the vendors, hopefully. The data should be there as it is. Okay, it's there. Let's look at SDH, the new table that we created. Payment terms, yes, have the same data. Interestingly, let's look at the series, because that app or that table has moved between the apps. Even then, my custom data remains intact. And if I go to the lines, remove the filters that will apply, I see that my demo code and my demo date is also intact. So even with the introduction of the foundation app, I did not have to do anything specifically extra to manage my data between Business Central 22 and 24. And I'm pretty sure the steps remain same when you are coming from a prior version. Okay. What are my to-dos? My to-dos to make sure that these scripts are available on the GitHub. You can get it from them. The link of that will be available in the first pinned comment. What are your action items? If you like the video, hit the like button. If you think this is important and others should know about it, share it on your social media accounts. And as I told you in the middle, what's my target? So hit the subscribe button if you haven't. One more thing before I let you go. If you end up with an error message, that typically will be related to the data. Start reading those error messages. When you get an error message during upgrade, you see something on the PowerShell or on the PowerShell ISE, whatever you're using, and a detail, you get it into the event log. So whenever you post a question that I have this issue, try to get the details from the event viewer. That gives you the complete detail of what data is causing this problem. So there can be issues for sure, because it's a data upgrade and data is different everywhere, in your system, in my system, and in anybody else's system. So data upgrade is very highly dependent on will it succeed or not, is on the data that you have into the system. So a lot of talking. I'll see you in the next video in some other context to BC24. If you have any video suggestion, add it into the comments, and I'll see you sooner than later. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.